G'day and welcome back to the latest episode of the Black Mosquito. On this episode, we are going to start plumbing the cooling system. G'day and welcome back to Australia's best classic mini YouTube channel. Like I said, on this episode we are going to start plumbing the cooling system on the Black Mosquito. Now, it took me quite some time to plumb the entire fuel system with this vehicle. I had to bend up a bunch of pipes, which I'll show you guys in a minute. If you haven't already, you can check them out on my Instagram. I had to mount the fuel pressure reg, the fuel pressure gauge on this side, run a heap of steel lines between the fuel pressure reg and the supply and return lines. Had to run a new return line all the way back to the pump. Got it wired up so when you turn the key, it activates the pump. So we're all Mickey Mouse there. So now we're going to move on to the cooling system. Essentially, we're going to be plumbing the heater tap, which is going to sit on the driver's side of the head, or the transfer case side, I guess. They're all the same, I think, on classic minis and mokes. Plumb that across to the manifold. That's going to run coolant through there, and then from there it's going to run directly inside the firewall. It's going to attach to the heater. The heater's going to then come out and go to the bottom radiator hose. So I have fitted a new radiator fan and a oversized pulley, which we're going to talk about on another episode with the Minisport, but I'm going to show you what we've done so far, just so you guys get up to scratch. All right, so as you can see, we have these two steel bundy lines. I do need to secure those because obviously they are just loose at the moment. There is a clamp I'm going to be putting down here at the moment. Yes, that is a Spider-Man tattoo on my wrist. I'm going to be putting those lines off to the side, so there'll be a steel clamp that holds those in to stop them rattling around. So I had to bend up these pipes. This is the fuel inlet and that is a fuel return. So it goes from a steel bundy line to a rubber line, back to a steel line, then back to the back of the car. So you got your fuel pressure reg here, so it is adjustable at the top. Just loosen off that nut and then twist it depending which way you need to go. This vacuum line runs from the fuel pressure reg to this barb just here. There is another one on the other side of the carby, which we're probably going to run. I think it needs to run to, oh yeah, that one there. So the fuel overflow, I think that's what it is. Someone please correct me with what that is. That one's blocked off as well. We do also have the vacuum advance that needs to run up through to here, through to the T-piece, which will connect to the wastegate, or the blow-off valve, should I say. That'll go into there, and then that's going to run back into that pipe. So yeah, we're going to run a T-piece off there, onto here, T-piece off there, onto the vacuum advance. So that fuel pipe runs directly behind there. We'll tidy this up a bit later on. Got the fuel pressure gauge, that came directly from Jet Motors, so thanks Jeremy for supplying that. I think that does come in the kit. I did have to bend up this bracket, that took me forever to do. I needed to make sure that this is as good as I can possibly do, because the customer is quite anal. He does build houses for a living, so he's very methodical and thought out with a lot of things, and you know, the gaps in which you have in a doorway and stuff, like he is super anal about it, and I'm sure he's watching and he's probably going to be laughing at this, but yeah, he is super pedantic, and it's not just for his sake but also for mine and my quality, so I need to make sure that this is absolutely perfect. But that's what we've done. So there's a pipe that runs in here behind the brake reservoir, goes to the fuel gauge, and then loops back around and goes into the carby. So there is our new 11 blade radiator fan. I said that's just a plastic one. That's also the genuine replacement, I think it is. You can buy a aftermarket, which is a little bit cheaper, but for what it is, I think it's like 30 bucks extra or something. I'll try and remember to put the link in the description, and also the price difference as well below. But for what it's worth, we just figured we might as well just replace it, because yeah, you don't want to be putting old parts on a new engine. It just won't look that great. Also, he doesn't have the water pump outlet that runs from here to the head, so that's no issue. And the oversized water pump pulley, as I said, we'll talk about that on another episode. So we're going to start off by removing the radiator fan, and then take the pulley off. I need to drill that bracket in through there and secure those pipes, just so that way they're out of the way. Like I said before, that'll just hold it down in there, save them rattling around. I was just going to use P-clips on this, but it'll just look a little bit too dodgy, I think. So I might even get spring clips to replace all these, just that way it looks a little bit cleaner. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But yeah, essentially it's going to run from down there, so that where that plastic is, that's just stopping debris and crap getting in there. You don't want to add extra contaminants inside your cooling system, otherwise that's how you get electrolysis, by mixing coolants, mixing different waters, using unmineralized coolant or water in your cooling system. You're just adding in extra components, which then can lead to, as I said, electrolysis, so just rust and the breakdown of internal components. And everything in a classic Mini is steel or cast iron, so you don't want to be adding extra stuff into it. So that's why it's important to make sure that you block off those pipes, especially when you're doing repair work or waiting for your engine to go back together. So that pipe's going to run directly down under there, a bit of an elbow to the manifold. It's going to connect here, come across, go down through there, in through to the heater, which we'll probably have to remove everything out of the car. I'm actually thinking we remove this heater box at the moment because we're not going to be using it. We're going to be using one out of another vehicle. We haven't actually decided what we're going to be using as the AC because we're going to go full electric. So I might just hoik that for a little bit and just put on the rack behind me. And then it's going to come back out of there. So I think it's this one here, where my finger is. See if I can go from there. Yeah, there we go. Hello. So it's going to come up, down through there, and then down to the bottom radiator hose. We also need to mount the radiator, so it's going to sit there. Anyone that knows or has watched this channel in quite some time knows that I don't like those stupid shrouds that they have. Yes, I understand they have a purpose. Yes, I understand that they are designed to be able to channel the air through there and direct it and help cool it down. It has been designed by that in the manufacturing process, should I say, and I get all of that. I completely understand. However, anyone that has worked on a classic Mini knows how fiddly they are to be able to get off, and I'm going to use just the word fiddly. I'm not going to use anything else, but they are mega fiddly. So to be able to get your hands in there and just undo those little screws and then have to bend it and then pull it up and then remove the thermostat housing and everything else in the top and the bottom section, they're just a pain. I just thought, nah, let's just get rid of this thing. Let's just hard mount it like we did Grace. So we're going to get we've got the radiator that's going to sit here. We do have to maybe try and cut the end off it because it sits quite close to here, up near the tower. So what we might do is cut the end off it and maybe get it re-welded so that way it comes out a little bit further and will sit kind of here, because here at the moment it's kind of coming to about here and then touching. But if we can kind of kick it off the housing just here, then we're probably going to be okay. So we'll see how we go with that. Let's start by removing that intake pipe and then start running the coolant hose. And I think I also need a new accelerator cable, I think. I'll need to probably look into it because I believe it's going to be touching the gooch of the exhaust manifold. But as I said, let me know in the comment section below, especially Jeremy from Jet Motors, if you're watching, please reach out, or anyone else that's got this kit, and tell me how you need to run the accelerator cable. Alright, so I took the liberty to go and buy a brand new heater tap. Sadly, they didn't have any available at Minisport, so I had to go overseas and buy one. So here we are. So that's our new heater tap there. Obviously just open and close, pretty straightforward. We're going to run a gasket along here. It's already got the 2 bolts at the front there as well. So actually there is a gasket there. Oh, what do you know? Here I was thinking we'd need to get a new one, but it's already got one there. Should be fine to use so long as all that tape doesn't come off and decide to destroy the gasket. We should be all right. All right, stick those bolts off to the side. They do have some gold washers there. I'm going to get rid of those and just replace them with the standard steel or alloy ones. That way it just looks more uniform rather than having 2 different washers there as well. All right, so once again, we're just going to use a little bit of aviation sealant, stuff that is non-hardening. Give that a bit of a clean beforehand. Oh God, surprising how much dust this thing's got on it. All right, so what we're going to do is actually, we're just going to cheat here. We're going to apply some to the head, apply some then to the heater tap itself, and then put the gasket on and let it seal itself rather than just applying it to the gasket. I'll just make it a little bit cleaner as well. Now, Tomo's tech tip here is when you're doing this and you're applying sealant, make sure when you're finished you clean it down. Failure to do so will mean that you're going to have sealant absolutely everywhere. It's going to look unprofessional. It is going to seep down. It's going to run down the side of the head. It's going to look absolutely crap. Anyone that's working on your engine, whether it be you, someone else, someone's looking at your engine, they see sealant around the outside, it is not going to look clean. Get the gasket, stick it on there. So I've applied more sealant than what we need, which is completely fine at this stage. We then grab a little bit more. This stuff is pretty cheap as well. It's pretty readily available. I think, you know, I paid like $20 or something for this 300 gram, I think it is, maybe 200 gram stuff. Pretty straightforward. You can use a lot of other different stuff, but just be mindful that when you're buying this sort of stuff, it is oil and coolant friendly as well, depending on what you're doing. Also that you don't apply so much that it blocks the orifice as well, because otherwise it's not going to function correctly. It's going to go this way. Yeah, it has to. I was just doubting myself and I didn't actually know which way it went, but it's obviously got to go this way. The reason for that is that's where the outlet is, so it's got to go this way out and around. That's on a bit of an angle. So I need to actually work out how that pipe is going to, how that fitting is going to run, where it actually goes down through there into the heater. So I'll probably check that out and probably put that up on my Instagram as well to find out exactly how this thing goes, because there's a lot of things on this car I still don't know, because I don't run a heater tap on grease. I don't actually run a heater cable, so just one of those things where you just have to hope you get it right and you route it the correct way. We were originally going to use the old heater tap, but just given that it looks like absolute garbage, I said to him, let's just get a new one. It's going to make this look so much better. You know what? That is going to be an absolute pain. We're probably going to have to clock that turbo even more. Yeah, we're going to have to, because that's just going to come. That is actually facing the wrong way by the look of it. I'll just grab the camera so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. So, although this is probably going to be fine to use on a car that's non-turbo, it actually angles this way. I thought it was angling this way a little bit more. So because of that, it's going to get in the way of this. Also, I need to cut this bracket off. I'm sorry, Jeremy, but this looks absolutely horrendous. So I'm going to probably work on cutting that off. Let's, I'll come back to this another stage. I'm not going to worry about filming this just yet. I might film a bit later, but we'll see how we go. Let's run the pipe from here down through there, connect it to the heater, and then bring it out, and then we can try and work out where the radiator is going to go on this side. So cut to an ad break. Right, so first things first, we're going to be using a combination of 1/2 inch and I think 5/8 heater hose. That one's going to go directly down from there. That's pretty self-explanatory. You might actually insulate this pipe as well, get some heat wrap on there, just because the exhaust, yes, it's going to get hot, but you really don't want to be applying too much heat through there. We do also have a couple of new components from Minisport, which I didn't know that they actually sold. So this one here, that's just a grommet that's going to go inside there, and that just stops that rubbing around inside it. So if I can go in there, just be a little bit fiddly because it's tight. I'll grab the torch in a sec and show you guys what we're doing. That just makes it just a little bit cleaner and just saves it being loose. All right, so here we are. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's not exactly round. That's not going to be an issue, because once the pipe's in there, as I said, all it's doing is just stopping it from rattling around and just helps to clean it up just a little bit. So you can force that in there. These are only a couple of bucks as well, available from Minisport. We will have a discussion about these on another episode. Probably worthwhile using a bit of lube on there as well, just to make sure that it goes in a bit easier, and also just stops a bit of water ingress as well getting inside there. Probably don't imagine you need to use one on this. It's probably advised though. Let's just see if it's actually going to fit. I should probably test this beforehand, but you know, doing it live is always fun. Yeah, I don't think this one is going to, yeah. Ideally, that's not gonna be the best being like that, because see how there's a gap there and it moves around? You really don't want there to be a gap, you want it to be nice and firm. That way it'll probably seal it. You can probably use just 5/8 pipe with that, which if I just grab this one I prepared earlier, the old floppy dangler, pull that off to the side, that one is pretty well a snug fit, which would be a better pipe. However, the only downside with that one is that we then need to run a joiner from 5/8 to 1/2 inch, which isn't an issue. But yeah, the more consistent pipe that you run, the better it's going to be. And that's, yeah, pretty loose on that fitting there. So if we do, we're going to have to run probably a fitting about here and then convert it from one down to the other, which I've got the fittings for, and we can do that later. Let's jump inside the car and start plumbing these pipes, because I'm pretty sure the pipe that comes out of the heater and into it is 5/8 and not 1/2 inch. All right, so I've just gotten off the phone to the customer and we've been discussing the setup for the radiator. Essentially, he's not happy with the way that it's sitting, and that's fair. It's his car, so I'm happy to do what he wants. Essentially, what he wants is the radiator to be parallel with the fan, so pretty much neck and neck. At the moment, it's on a bit of an angle and it's just not sitting very well, which is fine. The only thing with how it's currently sitting is the bottom radiator hose, where it comes out, it kicks on a pretty severe angle. It's probably like close to a 45 really. And as I was saying before, it's going to be touching on the tower itself on the passenger side. So essentially what we need to do is extend the bracket at the back of the radiator, so where it actually attaches to the body and then pushes it out. We need to lean it further towards the engine, and this is actually going to benefit us because the bottom radiator hose at the moment, if I kind of stretch it and get it on, it's going to work. But the downside with that is stretching it and getting it to work. It's probably going to be okay while it's stationary, but long term it's not, simply because there's going to be too much pressure on that hose and it's going to be stretching it way too much. And the last thing you want to be doing is putting pressure on that sort of thing. Now, you got to remember that the engine is going to move independently to the suspension and the body, depending on what sort of car it is, but the engine is mounted via rubber engine mounts, so that's going to have some bit of move. So if that's going to be moving a little bit, then over time the clamps could potentially rattle loose, they could fail, it could put extra strain on extra components, which is the last thing that we want to do. So we want to make sure that we do this right. So essentially what we're going to do, I'll bend the camera down, you guys can see, is, so we've got the radiator here, where it was originally going to mount up on the inner wing panel. It was going to mount something along these lines here. So probably about there, I reckon. The side where my hand is on the right, I'm just going to try and pull that out a little bit. Yeah, so I've got that bottom radiator hose connected at the moment. Yeah, essentially it's going to sit something along these lines here. It's not going to be too close to the fan, but it's going to be close enough where it's going to direct as much air as we can possibly in there. So if I just kind of hold that there, roughly about where we need it, just going to grab my Year 10 ruler and get a bit of an idea. Alright, so pretty much it's going to be about 90 mil, you could probably even say 95 mil to the center of that bolt. So the bracket needs to come along probably about 100 mil, I reckon. No, probably about 105 actually, from the end of this bracket. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So how this bracket is currently bent in that L shape from the end, so this part here where my finger is all the way out, needs to be about 95 mil, so it needs to be longer in overall terms, and then have a bend on the end, which we can do, or you can even buy just a piece of aluminium like that. And then that's going to give us enough room to be able to space it out from the radiator, because yeah, at the moment, the way that it currently sits, I'll try and do this one-handed because it's bloody hard. How it currently sits is like that, and you can see kind of where my hand is. See if I can reposition this without damaging it. Yeah, at the moment it's sitting like that, so it's a pretty big angle, so we need to try and straighten that up a bit. The fact that I've got the radiator hose connected makes it a little bit hard, but yeah, we want to try and bring that as parallel in line with the fan as we can. That's obviously going to sit away from the body, which is not going to be the end of the world. We may need to find something to be able to fit inside there, just to make sure that we can take up that gap between the guard and the radiator. So in the meantime, I am going to try and find a piece of alloy that I can bend up and then drill some holes. And the good thing about this is the aftermarket radiator is similar to the OG radiator. It's got all these holes all the way down the side, so we can just drill them to suit. I want to try and make that obviously as big as we can and support as much of the weight as we possibly can. Not that it's going to be weighing a ton whatsoever. This side's a little bit different. That side will probably just be fine to run the way that is. As I said, you just have to make sure that we clear the bonnet that's going to be coming down here as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. But that's where I'm up to with this. What else do we have to do? We have to start plumbing the other pipes. So I think we're actually going to have to run a different style heater outlet. Let's just turn these around. See, as I was saying the other day, or earlier, because it has been a day or two, how that runs there, that's going to be directly in front of the compressor housing. So if I can move the compressor housing around, which I'll be able to do, get that out of there, I don't know why that's there, that's going to give us a little bit extra room to be able to run that pipe underneath. But I'm going to have to loosen these off first and then check to make sure that the heater pipe is going to be able to run out and across. If not, we can maybe run one from a Morris Minor A series. Right, so one of the few times I actually get time to work on cars during the day. My wife's currently out, daughter's asleep, son's just watching a bit of telly. So essentially I've just jumped on and trimmed off that bracket that was sitting along here. Once again, sorry Jeremy, Jet Motors. That needs to get rid of. It just makes it look way more clean. So what I'll do is I'll grab the camera and I'll show you guys what I've done. And the reason why we've done it, as I was saying, that outlet, it's going to make that pipe run a little bit easier from the heater tap all the way through to the manifold. So it turns out one of my neighbours actually owns an old F truck he's restoring, and he's out there at the moment. You can probably hear the grinder in the background. So it's cool to know that people have classic cars in my neighbourhood. So essentially this one is going to sit just here. I should also note as well, on the back of here there is a rubber O-ring, so that's what seals against there and seals the unit at the front and stops any of the boost from escaping, because you know you don't want boost escaping, because then you're pretty much just throwing away horsepower. Essentially it'll sit something like this, maybe up a little bit higher. That pipe is then able to run from there all the way around to the manifold, which I'm going to run first. Then we're going to work on refitting that compressor housing. Now I did also notice that this clocking bracket as well, this lower hose clamp for the turbo oil return, is actually touching up against it. So I'm going to have to take the wastegate off again, reposition the clamp, put it up in here, put it back up in there, and then put it back together. So there is a couple of things about this kit that I've noticed that are a little bit fiddly that I do have to muck around with, and this is one of them. So just, yeah, pure observation that I've noted during this build, that those little things I've just had to modify and whatnot. All right, so I took the liberty of buying 3 meters of 1/2-inch heater hose, because I figured, well, it's probably better to have more than it is less. And you probably think, oh, there's not 3 meters worth in a classic Mini, but before you know it, once you start routing pipes and hoses and stuff and things start changing, you need quite a lot. Now, although this is insulated as well at the manifold, we might also insulate this pipe. That way it just helps to prevent any heat transfer as well. Pretty much it's about here where we need to cut it. I'm pretty sure that these are hose cutters. I've never actually known, to be honest, but this is what I use it for, and it seems to do the job pretty clean. Just saves you using a pair of side cutters. All right, so that's going to run like that, and then we've got the next one, which is going to run from this side down. So let's bring the camera around and we'll have a look. All right, so that pipe's going to go on there, but what we might do first is we'll feed it down in there. That way we can just get a bit of an idea as to how much length we need. So I'll jump in the car, we'll pull it through. The good thing about having the dash out of this thing at the moment is the accessibility of it, but also the windscreen as well. Just makes it that much easier to be able to do things. Obviously on a standard car you wouldn't be able to do this, not as easy. So that'll go on the back of there. And come down through there. Yep, that'll be fine like that. Next step is we're just going to run that pipe back out through here to the bottom radiator hose. We're just going to get everything plumbed as it needs to be, and then as I assemble it, I'll go back and put hose clamps everywhere and insulate what I need to. All right, so that's going to be a little bit tight to push that through. I'm going to use a little bit of rubber grease just to help the pipe come through that rubber grommet. All right, so this stuff does come in a variety of different styles. This is just obviously the tub, which is the larger version you can get. Supercheap actually sell one where it's just like a toothpaste tube. Super handy to be able to have, just depending on what you're doing. You don't always need to have half a kilo of grease out of in this shed just kicking around. I'm just going to grab a rag to pull that through. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So I'm just going to pull just enough through to be able to connect it to there. And then that way we have a maximum length inside there and we can just cut it where we need it on each side. Alright, so we have spoken about those Minisport. That is the fitting that goes between the bottom radiator hose and the heater hose. Never go in dry, folks. So that's Tomo's tech tip. I'm just using a bit of WD-40 on this. You probably could use silicone spray. Probably would be better, to be honest, but it's not going to hurt the cooling system at all. And then we're just going to spray inside there as well. That way it just goes on that little bit easier. Now, like I said, we're going to come back and fit the hose clamps later. That's going to come off pretty easily like that, which is good. We can, you know, fit those once we're done. All right, so slight change of plans. We're just going to fit the hose clamps now. I've pretty much got them all in the position in which they all need to be. And then we should be right to remount the compressor housing. Right, time to take off this ridiculous jacket that I got for free. Maxxis is a really good tyre company. I really like them, make some really good tyres. However, some of their merchandise they give us, crikey, probably made out of the cheapest Chinese crap. So if you want a free jacket, let me know, I'll send it to you. It's like an extra large, I think. I don't know. Large. I'm clearly not large. Right, so we've refitted the compressor housing. Now it's time to get the intake pipe. So we're going to grab this one here and refit it just along here and make sure that we've got it in the right spot. Yeah, fabulous. All right, so now that completely clears the heater tap. That runs down around there. We need to extend that, which I might just do. I actually need to go to Supercheap Auto today, so I'll get some pipe. I think that's probably 5/16 hose, I reckon. Yeah, it's definitely not 1/2 inch. That's pretty much plumbed where we need it to be. That compressor housing, I believe. Oh, no, that's still loose. So now that we know that's where we need it to be, we can go and tighten up all these. I'm just using an 8mm stumpy spanner to be able to tighten these up, especially for the one at the bottom of the clocking bracket. It is super hard to get to and it is very hard to be able to see, let alone get the spanner on there. So I'll work onto that. I also repositioned the clamp for the oil drain that runs from the turbo back down to the transfer case housing. I'll tighten up all this. I'm going to leave the intake pipe just loose at this stage. There's no point tightening it because we do still need to remove it a couple of times. Need to run some heat wrap around there as well. Might even run it on this hose that goes into the firewall. I thought I had some clamps, but I don't, so I have to get those from Supercheap as well. Still got the pod filter going here. Now we're actually thinking of running a cold air intake system. So there is an open duct down in here, which would generally run from the engine bay inside, so up inside the cabin here, which anyone that owns a Classic Mini knows how that runs. It is a pretty big pipe. I think it's like 2.5 or 3 inch that runs along there. There's a ducting system that runs. That's just like your fresh air. Essentially what we're thinking of doing is running a pipe down here and then this opening down, I think it's actually down behind the grill here, making a ducting that sits inside there, comes up through the wheel arch, in through that hole, and then run the air filter assembly down in there somewhere. That way it's completely cold air that we get inside the turbo. If not, we can maybe just run a say 45 down here and just have the air filter sucking air from down here. At the moment it's just going to be hitting, the air is going to be hitting here as it comes up over the bonnet. It's only going to be coming down through here. So if we try and angle that down a little bit and get that colder air that's down in there, it's going to be a better engine to be able to breathe, as well as the performance of it. And being a turbocharged engine, the more air and fuel you can fit in a cylinder, especially cold air, the harder it's going to go. Yes, as you can see, there is quite a large amount of stuff in this car. There's been quite a few developments since we started the episode, started the series, should I say. There's a lot of gauges, so we've got a oil pressure gauge, which is really cool. Hopefully you guys can see that from there. We've also got the AF gauge, and they are the autometer gauges, which is going to look really good in it. We've decided to go with the black fascia, which is really going to help complement the car. So there's just a lot of stuff in here at the moment. I've just gone through and tried to section out a lot of the stuff that I've got. Please let me know if anyone at home is this messy, and if not, it's just me. Because to be honest, I kind of feel that this is something that I probably need to pay a bit more attention to. That's the old Jet Motors plenum box. Apparently that's not as good, not sure why. Jeremy, if you're watching, please let me know. All right, so last part of this chapter is routing the heater hose. So it turns out the pipe that I had originally is 1/2 inch. What we need is 5/8 or 16 mil, that is. So what we're going to do is just connect both ends and then work out exactly how long we need it to be. Now I do also have some adapters. It goes from 5/8 to 1/2 inch, so we're going to need those to be able to connect up the heater to the heater pipes. Once we kind of worked out where it needs to be, we'll then just cut it, and then off camera I'll just run a heap of clamps on there just to make sure that everything's fine. And then we're pretty much set to wrap up the episode and then move on to the next part of the journey. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just grab the pipe, and it's just going to sit on there just like that. And the original pipe did go down underneath, and you just have to make sure, there we go. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have to run a elbow piece here, unless we run up over, which is not going to work because of the AC unit. So I'm going to have to get a 90-degree piece that's going to come probably to about here. Yeah, okay. That's where that joint stops, so we're going to have to get an elbow here, and then down and across, and probably same here. Only because the clutch pedal is there. If I just grab the other end of this, get a bit of an idea as to how this goes. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have to do the same thing here, and that's probably going to have to run something like that. Face it that way, so it'll run there. I'll probably have to bend it back that way, I think, to try and get the room we need down here and then across. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do, because at this stage it's probably not going to work the way we need it to. I do have 1/2 inch brass male elbows, but what we need is 5/8. Probably could use that, but I do want to use the correct parts. So tomorrow is a new day. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to get new ones of these. On the next episode I will run through how we do it, but essentially that's what I'm going to do. Just run a brass T-piece here coming down, and then that way I can just kind of loop it down under here. Same here. These are only probably 30 mil long in total, so it's only really going to come to probably about here before it goes down, and that way I can just kind of loop it across. And the pipes that run, see if I can just show you guys. I really thought I would have had all the right tools, but clearly not. These are the 2 heater pipes, and yes, I do have a lot of pipe here. Not a nice pipe, that's for sure. Alright, so, and then we can just run a joiner just down under here and just try and bring that out of the way, just to try and keep everything nice and tidy and clean. Maybe we get some clamps where it sits up under the dash here or something. maybe just secure it about here where the heater is, and then across. Yeah, that'll be all right. So I'll work out what we need to do there, but that's going to be pretty straightforward to be able to route. So I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, the way that I run it, but obviously try and run it as clean as I possibly can. Bit Devo actually. I really thought I had the right stuff, but I clearly don't. And as you can see, I do have a bunch of hoses and pipes and stuff here that I've been trying to work out, and barbs, I do have a heap of barbed fittings here as well, which I'm using throughout the entire car. So I'm going to get those 5/8 elbows, get those sorted. And then once this is done, so as I said, I'll show you guys how I did it next episode. There's no real point in me just doing another part of this just because of, you know, what it is. So moving along to the next part, we are also drawing the end of season 4 of Tomo's tune-ups, and we only have a couple of weeks left until I call it quits for the rest of the year. So I'm going to work on this pretty much over the Christmas break. So all of December and all of January I'll take off just to be able to allow me to catch up and refilm heaps of stuff that I've got planned in the background. Have some stuff I need to do to Grace. I did the head gasket on it the other day, and now it's misfiring on cylinder 3. Originally I thought it might have been the plugs and leads, so I changed them, swapped them, still the same. Thought it might have been the distributor cap, still the same thing. Number 3 is not firing at all, which, you know, is an issue, so could be something to do with cylinder 3, but I just got to work that out. There's stuff I want to do to Grace next year once this thing is done, so I do have a bit of a time limit. So from here till next year, it's currently end of October at the time of filming this, which then leads me into having 6 months left before I need to get this thing done, which I may have discussed already previously on another episode, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, that's my time frame. So throughout Christmas, I'm just going to be pumping this. So by the time next year comes, you guys will see a bunch of new stuff that I've done, and hopefully where I'm up to, and potentially even going for a quick little test drive and getting it tuned. But look, moving right along, thanks very much for being a part of this year. We still have an episode or 2 to go before I wrap it up, but just sort of give you guys the heads up just to what to expect. This project has been absolutely massive, and I'm super grateful for everyone being a part of it, everyone reaching out and helping me throughout the entire world and help work out exactly what this thing needs, because without you guys I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. But before I go, next episode we are going to be, if I can find it, refitting. Oh, that's right, it's over there. We're going to be refitting the AC unit. Fun. So essentially, I'll let you guys in on a bit of a secret. What we intended to do originally was run a turbo setup and an AC setup. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard of a classic Mini with both AC and a turbo. Now, they generally either come out with one or the other, so I'm sure there's cars out there that do have both. However, the one thing that I really wanted to do, and the customer gave me, you know, full open slab to do what I wanted to run a electric AC compressor, and then run a dual battery system, so a DC-DC converter, maybe run like a 50 amp hour battery, a slimline battery that you can hide behind the seat, which would then mean we have to ramp up the alternator current, the wiring, a bunch of stuff. Essentially what the go is with that is I just wanted to be able to run it off a completely separate system, so that way it's not going to have any, you know, severe turbo lag or extra power drain on the engine itself, which the customer was super happy to do. However, we haven't actually found anything yet that we've decided to use, and he wants to go with the original setup. Now, like I've said before, this thing is like building a jigsaw puzzle in the dark that's wet, half the pieces are missing and you're blindfolded. So everything I've got here I need to just work out piece by piece. So I'm just going to cut each section of this build into a different episode because I feel it's the easiest way to tackle it all. But that's what we're going to be doing next episode, putting in the AC system, running all the lines. I need to work out exactly where it goes. So the evaporator obviously sits inside here. Got all the old lines. Need to work out how the compressor mounts. Do we need a new mount? Where does the alternator sit in regards to it? Where the condenser sits, the receiver dryer, all that stuff I need to work out. See if the compressor's still any good, because if it's not, we're gonna have to throw it in the old over the right shoulder and get a new one. See what happens with that, but that's the next episode, and I don't know what I'm going to really do to finish off the end of the year, but I did get the exhaust mounted, so from the manifold downpipe down and across, I mounted that. I got Josh come around the other day. He is going to weld in the bung for me for the O2 sensor, and then we just have to run that up through the dash somewhere and work out where it's going to be. The cooling system, he's also grabbed some brackets that we've got to mount the radiator to the body. Originally we were going to use alloy, but we've now decided we're going to go stainless, just that it's probably going to be cheaper, or or at least stronger, and it's going to look better as well. So he's going to make up the brackets to mount the radiator, which we can get into another episode. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're up to at the moment. So I hope you guys are enjoying the series. There's only a couple more episodes left of this build for this year, and hopefully I can get out at least another one after this one before we call it quits for the year. And a Christmas special is something that I did earlier this year. It was a 700-kilometer trip each way to be able to film what I did, and that'll be launching on Christmas Day. Hopefully a mini length movie for you guys. So thanks for watching again. Hope you enjoy the episodes. Don't forget to please try and hit that like and subscribe button for all the best classic mini content down under, and I'll see you on the next episode of Tomo's Tune Ups.